Welcome to the Steroids Podcast with your host, Dan the Bodybuilder from Thailand. Boom! Boom! Let's get started here. The Steroids Podcast is brought to you by Ultimate Guide to ROIDS, 109-page ebook by Dan the Bodybuilder from Thailand. Now, for the first time in bodybuilding history, you have someone with no corporate interests and no obligation to please anyone, not walking on eggshells to not offend. Ultimate Guide to ROIDS gives you the information, the whole truth, not a full truth and a half truth, full truth. Ultimate Guide to ROIDS gives you the keys to the Lamborghini, gives you the information, and lets you decide what to do with it. It's a crime this information has been suppressed this long. Now let's get on with the podcast.
Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Steroids Podcast. This is Dan, bodybuilder from Thailand. Gonna have a friend on the show today to help me answer your guys' questions. And just shooting the shit together on your questions. And make sure that you go to steroidspodcast.com, www.steroidspodcast.com, and listen to the podcast there. That's the preferred place to listen to the podcast. There's the YouTube version is there, but also the podcast MP3 version is there on the website. And also then you can sign up for the Steroids Podcast VIP email list, which is free, obviously. And what it does is it makes it so that, you know, when I get censored on social media, because it's only a matter of time until I'm deleted again from social media, then I won't lose contact with you, and I'll be able to tell you, you know, where to go to listen to the Steroids Podcast. I'll still be here, you know, where to go to find me. If all my stuff gets deleted from the internet, I'll still be able to communicate with you because I'll have your email address if you sign up for that. So that's a pop-up that comes up after you've been on any page on steroidspodcast.com for about 20-30 seconds.
Welcome to the questions part of the show today, guys. I wanted to bring my friend on here who I talk about gear with openly. His name's Justin, so that we could just, but he wants to remain anonymous, you know, just first name, and so that we could be talking about the gear in a way that is just casual, and you guys can hear what it's like to talk when two guys are talking about gear, because I know a lot of you guys, you're not used to talking about gear with anyone at all, so it's a very private thing for you, and I thought it would be interesting for you guys to hear about how it's chatted about between guys who use it. So yeah, Justin's on the other side of the line.
Yeah, what's up, guys?
And we'll just get into the questions now. So the first question is from Nick. So I supported you by purchasing the Ultimate Guide to ROIDS. Great book. I recently purchased some Helios, which is injectable Clenbuterol, and Yohimbine, 30 micrograms of Clen and 5.8 milligrams Yohimbine per milliliter, and I got a couple questions. I've heard people say you can use this for site injections and burn fat from specific body areas, like inject into belly fat to burn more belly fat. Is this actually possible? All right, my first thing that I think is that, you know, it is going to have a very slight effect, because when you put it into the stomach, it's going to be more concentrated in that area as it goes then and leaks through the rest of the body into the bloodstream. But it's not going to have some kind of big site enhancement effect like that, because those are both systemic drugs. They make a systemic response in your body. They're not really that targeted. The Yohimbine might have a more targeted effect in the actual site that it was injected in. What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I have a little bit of experience with this product, and I know people who have used it. You know, back in the day, Dragon Pharma used to be quite big in the UK. A lot of guys used to use it. And I know this guy, he was getting ready for a wedding, right? And he got this Helios, and it was pretty much the exact same thing, like injectable Clenbuterol, injectable Yohimbine. And usually with this stuff, you obviously inject it subcutaneously with like an insulin syringe.
Yeah.
And it might have some sort of effect, almost like when you inject like L-carnitine. So if you're really lean, what a lot of guys used to do in the UK was they would get injectable L-carnitine and they would put it in like those so-called stubborn areas, like around the lower back love handles. And
Hmm.
you do that before cardio. And obviously we know injectable L-carnitine, the uptake is a lot better than oral L-carnitine, right?
Yeah.
So, you can inject L-carnitine pretty much anywhere. It's a water-based solution. So with this sort of stuff, yeah, it might have some of an effect, but like what you said, it's gonna burn fat from your entire body, not just those stubborn areas. So yeah, word of caution though, some people don't do very well with Yohimbine. So if
Yeah.
I was using that, I would definitely just try like 1 cc first, fasted cardio in the morning and see how you feel. And then maybe like a cc, before you train. It could be a good
I
pre-workout
agree.
as well.
The Yohimbine can really shock you. It can kind of make you go into shock if you don't know your tolerance for it. Maybe like your blood pressure dropping, or seeing stars, or seeing certain colors, feeling like a very unpleasant feeling.
Yeah.
So it's especially combining it with another stimulant like that with Clen.
Yes.
The thing with Clen too is, you were saying, is it the next question that he asks, is it like more potent? Because he asked the second question: what would you recommend for dosage? Is Clen stronger as an injectable? Does the Yohimbine make the effects of the Clen more intense? And yes, the Yohimbine makes the effects of the Clen more intense. And so when you combine those like that, you can have a really kind of extreme reaction to it, where you feel dysphoria, or like you feel there's too much going on, kind of like going into shock a little bit. So I would definitely be careful with the dosage on that. But as far as Clen being stronger as an injectable, it's like 5% stronger, which is basically nothing, because Clenbuterol is really well absorbed by the gut. For the dosage, I would say the same thing as Jeremy said, like half cc or 1 cc, and then seeing how you feel.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty much the same thing. Like with Clen, usually people start with 20 micrograms a day and they taper all the way up. I know guys who have gone all the way up to 140, 160. I personally have also gone to 120, but I don't think that is necessary at all. We were all at that one stage where we were all a bit young and foolish, going up too high. And this particular guy who used this product, his diet was good. His diet was clean, and he shred down. He looked really good. He's also had bodybuilding experience in the past. But when you go too high, I know someone whose teeth, like his tooth, it actually started chipping from the cleanse because he went too high.
So it dried it out or something?
I actually don't know. I mean, all of his teeth were fine, except like when he started going really, really high on the clen, like
Uh,
at 160, his teeth started chipping. So I would
Weird.
definitely yeah, I would definitely just stick at a CC, probably like for a week or two, and then bump it up slowly. I don't think you need to go over 80 mg's of clen, mcg's of clen,
Yeah.
to be honest with you.
So this is the thing with Clen too, is that it is a strong fat burner, and it does work, and it can be used like as a crutch for people who cannot control their food intake and cannot control their diet. But it can only be used as a crutch to an extent. So if you are
Mhm.
not able to, get mostly lose the weight that you want to lose when you're dieting with your diet alone without the Clen, and then you've figured out, for what you're doing, you're not able to do that. And then you're like, well, I'm just gonna blast this shit out of Clen and try to get around, the fact that I'm not able to successfully do a diet. You will lose some fat, but you won't meet your goals. It won't be strong enough for you to get the result that you want to get. And you're going to be feeling like shit. And it's going to be something that you're going to majorly regret.
Yeah. As an alternative, I mean, since he's already purchased this, I can vouch for Dragon Pharma. I have used their products in the past, and to be specific, I used their products from about 2017 to 2019. No, sorry, 2016 to 2019, so a good 3-year run in the UK. They're good products, but I would also recommend like an alternative, maybe looking at some ephedrine first. And standalone Clen is also very good, just the 20 mcg tabs. And the common combo that guys use is Clen and T3. But with that, I would definitely say just keep the T3 low. Don't put the T3 too high, because T3 will actually, if it's too high, it's going to burn muscle. And T3 and Clen, with that look, you get very flat and stringy. And you don't really look like a bodybuilder when you take too much of those stuff. You look more like a underwear model, or like an athlete, like a swimmer or something like that, you know?
Yeah. T3 it'll overpower all your steroids, including Tren. Just a little T3 tablet.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's the thing.
Next question is from Effin, and Effin asks, "What's your opinion on sublingual administration of orals?" So orals absorb really well orally. They're like going into your stomach and going through your digestive tract. They have special chemical alterations on them that make them be able to withstand that and be able to have a very high blood concentration. So when you take an oral and it goes through your stomach, through your liver, etc., you're getting a really high absorption. Like almost all of the milligrams are getting into your bloodstream. But if you hold it under your tongue and do a sublingual administration, it kind of affects the way that it's absorbed, in that it doesn't go through the liver in that case on the first pass metabolism. And so part of why oral steroids are really strong is because they stimulate IGF-1 release from the liver, but also from the actual individual cells, muscle cells, because all cells are able to create IGF-1. So if you are taking them sublingually, it's going to hit faster because it's going to absorb straight into your bloodstream, but it's not necessarily going to have a stronger effect. I've never been impressed with injectable orals, for example. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the same thing. If you're going to take an oral, just, take an oral. Like, I can tell you what I do. Like, if I'm having a meal, like my pre-workout meal, whatever pre-workout oral I'm taking, whether it's, D-bol, Winstrol, Anavar, whatever it is, Anadrol, I'll just take it with that pre-workout meal, and it works just fine. I do advise, though, sometimes taking orals on an empty stomach, not the best idea. So I definitely take it with a meal. I mean, putting it under your tongue, maybe there is something to it. To be honest with you, I've never done it, and I know a lot of guys who just take the orals the same way that I do normally. So yeah.
Yeah, it's getting too caught up in all the small details and everything to be really worried about taking, how you take the oral. Sometimes people are thinking like, how do you take it with food? How do you take it with not food? Do you take it sublingually? Do you put it up your ass? It's like, just take it, and it does its thing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing that I would say is, how sometimes you have these like check drops. Like, have you heard of like the Clen check drops and stuff like that?
I know of that, but I've never used that.
Yeah, I would advise against check drops, because you know how check drops, you gotta like lift up your tongue and you've got to like put it under your tongue and like keep it there for a while, almost like when you're taking the CBD oil, you got to do that. To be honest with you, like the check drops for like steroids, when they've been done into check drops, it's very hard to dose, because a lot of the stuff sometimes, if you don't mix it properly, some of the stuff can get suspended at the bottom and you might not get the full dose, or towards the end, you might get like way too much. For example, research chemicals and stuff like that, they do oral AI check drops, which are AIs, right? The anti aromatase inhibitors, which are check drops. And that's something you don't want to miss dose. Trust me, you don't
Oh,
want to miss
like
dose
shaking it
that.
up really well before you use it, right? And because it's in a
Yeah.
dropper.
Yeah. You don't want to do that. So like with oral, same thing. Just take it and remember, guys, the half-life, right? Remember the half-life of these things. Like if you're gonna take, like an oral, you want it in your system. You want to play around with that half-life. Don't just bomb everything at once. Split up your dosages. It's still gonna work. It's no problem. That's what I would
Yeah,
do.
I also prefer taking them throughout the day, like with food, the same way that you were talking about. But I have noticed that, the difference between taking it once every 24 hours with an oral versus taking it 5 times a day, there's really not a big difference. The main thing is just that you're getting it in every day.
Yep, that's it. I mean, don't try to do so many things. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. You get caught up in all the small details and stuff like that. You kind of miss the big picture,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, next question is from Gustavo, a longtime listener, and I finally have to ask, is there anything you can take to help with premature ejaculation? Some way to extend the longevity of sex without ejaculating? Well, you know
Trend.
what? Yeah, Trent is
Trend
that
is.
is the answer for that. I would say that a lot of guys who are younger guys, especially because it's one of those things that when the younger you are, the quicker you kind of ejaculate. Although it wouldn't just completely go away because you're older. It's sort of a genetic thing, but the ejaculation thing is like a reflex when a certain threshold of chemicals in your brain is hit, where it triggers this reflex. And most guys, if they, almost everyone that uses Trenbolone notices, whoa, it's harder to ejaculate now. And that can be up to the point where they cannot ejaculate. It's impossible. Or, they can't get an erection, etc. Which then, by using various amounts of cabergoline or pramipexole can mess with that. I would say that using steroids in general, though, kind of like makes it so that the person does not ejaculate as fast.
Yeah, I mean, trend without caber, right? That's one
Mm-hmm.
thing. You can put in 10 mg of Cialis, or you can put in some Viagra before you get the job done.
Yeah, that's a bit.
Person,
You know what? Yeah, Viagra definitely
yeah,
increases the time. Yeah.
and to certain effect, if you're gonna take Tren, you're gonna have Trenase, maybe with a faster acting test like Test Pro, and then you're gonna put in some Master on there, and you don't take any cabergoline, and maybe you put like 50 mg's of Proviron on top of that. That's like the porn star stack, pretty much.
Yeah, the Proviron will increase the amount of times that you want to do it per day. But I don't know if that'll decrease the time it takes in order to, or increase the time it takes in order to ejaculate, though. One thing that definitely works, and everybody knows this works, is alcohol. If you drink some alcohol before you have sex, you will have a delayed ejaculation. Another one would be kratom. Kratom has a major effect in delaying the time to ejaculation. Have you ever tried that?
No, I haven't actually been able to get my hands on kratom due to the part of the world that I'm in. It's hard to get kratom.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you guys have problems with ejaculation being too fast, taking steroids in general slows it down a little bit, and then Viagra, alcohol, kratom, and then Tren does it the most.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You guys just like take my advice on this. You don't want to run insane dosages of Tren, because I've been on a gram of Tren before, and that's like a 2-3 hour job. And when you get that high on the Tren, you're disinterested in sex. You're uninterested in sex. You do not want it when you're that high. So
Yeah, the
don't
the
overdo it.
prolactin can be pretty uncontrollable in that when it's so high like that. That prolactin surge is the same chemical that's being released when you climax
ejaculate.
during sex. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're kind of walking around with that same feeling in you all day long.
Yeah.
Next question is from Quality of Life. He asks, love what you do, and I have the book, Ultimate Guide to ROIDS. What's your take on using red ruby grapefruit to supposedly increase the potency of oral steroids? If it works, what's the protocol? After eating the half a grapefruit, how long after would I take Anadrol or Anavar to get the maximum effect? Well, what grapefruit does is it has a chemical in it. I don't have it on the top of my tongue, the chemical, okay? But the name of the chemical. But this chemical, what it does is it makes it so that certain enzymes in your body that are produced by your liver that are involved in metabolizing drugs or breaking down drugs, getting rid of them out of the body, are not made, or their production is a lot lower. And so what that means is that the any kind of medications that are normally affected by those enzymes are what remove those medications from the body, break them down so that you can then piss or excrete them out, has not happened. So then it takes longer for your body to get rid of the medications or chemicals or whatever. And so how that can happen with the grapefruit is you eat the grapefruit and you've reduced the amount of those metabolism enzymes in your body, and now the ability to break down hormones is not as high in your body. So there's like eating grapefruit and a woman taking birth control can make it so that the birth control has a different effect and she can get pregnant. Taking grapefruit can potentiate certain other medications and make them more powerful, which can cause like an overdosage or something. And then with stuff like steroids, it can make it so that the steroids then stick around in your system better. They're not eliminated better. And that's how they can make it stronger. As far as like a protocol of taking it, it's more of like just that you ate a grapefruit. If you eat like 2 or 3 grapefruits a week, those enzymes will be reduced in your body. And it will be more difficult for your body to reduce the levels of hormones in your body. So there'll be more buildup. But there's not really any protocol to it other than just getting it in.
So this must be why Kai Green is so jacked because of all the grapefruits.
Yeah, maybe that's why he had that grapefruit sitting around. I remember when I saw that was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen.
I mean, to the listeners, if you guys know, you know, like just Google Kai Green grapefruit. Not stabbing at Kai, but you know, just a joke there. But you know, to be honest with you, it seems like a lot of people just want to today are asking, you know, the best ways to get, you know, the maximum potency out of their orals. To be honest with you, I think, you know, like I said, yes, maybe there is something to it, but I just like to stick, you know, with the old school way of doing it, you know. Like think about how the guys in the golden era did it, right? Like 3 Dianabol a day, like with breakfast, and then probably like another 3 pre-workout and like another 3, you know, with their next meal. You know, and they looked great. They looked fantastic. Of course, you know, back then you could get really, really you know, really good Dianabol from the pharmacy in America. And in some places like in Thailand, you can still get really, really good you know, really good D-ball, just like the ones I showed you when we were talking the other day, the pink pills. You know, it's the same thing. Or the Blue Hearts, Dianabol DS, which are 10 mgs. The pink ones are Anabol, 5 mgs. You know, you just take it with your meals. It's no problem, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So what you're saying is exactly right. You're focusing on the fundamentals, but you know, that doesn't make you sound smart enough. Because if you focus on all these crazy scientific, confusing little details that just confuse the shit out of everybody and they can't understand anything anymore, then you sound smarter. And then people want to listen to your content. And so that's what, you know, most of these guys probably that are asking these questions, they've probably been hearing these guys on the internet that, you know, are saying, you know, oh, I know the science of the body.
and this is how you take it to make all these little differences that have been seen in scientific studies that really don't have any effect. It just changes the measurements a little bit in a scientific study on a small subject size, and they're like, oh, well, this is the way you're supposed to take it. But what Justin's saying about that, those are these small details, and that's not really what makes the difference as far as what the ultimate outcome is and what your body looks like. Yeah, sure, you can make some differences on some kind of testing or something like that, your little science papers, etc. But as far as the fundamentals of what makes your body look a certain way, it's not these little tiny little alterations and doing everything the best ways. It's the fundamentals and you need to stick to those. That's what's important.
I mean, yeah. So like, okay, you can get someone like Jeff Nippert or whatever, right? And he's gonna tell you like all the science and stuff like that. Bro, science, very, very simple. You take whatever steroids you're taking, it's going to increase your performance, right? It's going to help partition the nutrients from the food that you eat. So what do you need to do? You need to go into the gym, put your muscles under the correct amount of tension, the appropriate amount of tension to cause micro tears in those muscles, right? And then the steroids, which are already in your blood, are going to dock to those receptors, right? And basically, it's going to make the food that you eat go to the places where you want it to go. I mean, yeah, that's a very bro science way of thinking about it, but that's essentially what steroids do. They allow you take steroids so that you can perform better in the gym. You can put your muscles under more tension for a longer period of time. All right? And that's how you grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next question is from Jacob. Hey, Dan, I was wondering if taking a shot in the shoulder has any stronger effect to causing gyno than the butt or thigh. By the way, love the podcast. Keep it up. No, it doesn't have any effect. It's I mean, I think you're wondering, if you took a shot of testosterone in your shoulder, is it gonna, since it's in closer proximity, is it gonna get to your nipple more or something like that? But that's not how it's doing like that. It's gonna go through your full bloodstream, and it has no relevance. No relevance.
No, definitely not. You're right. But no,
So
it's interesting. It's interesting that he's that people are asking these kinds of questions. The first time I did my shots, when I first started using gear, the first shot I did was in my shoulders. But
that was a non-intimidating spot for you?
bro, like literally the first time I started, he was like, okay, take this and this 1 cc of this, 1 cc of that, then change the needle to like a 25 gauge needle and put it on your right side and put it on your left side. I was like, can you show me? He's like, no, watch a video on YouTube. Bye. Yeah. That was it.
Your shoulders. How did you pick your shoulders as your first spot?
No, he told me to do my shoulders, so I was like,
okay. The guy that was telling you how to use gear. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, should I do it in my butt? He's like, nah, don't do it in the glutes, bro. Do it in the shoulders. But to be honest with you, if you're gonna get gyno, some guys will get gyno because you might be predisposed to gyno, or you might have some gyno during your teenage years, So it's all about keeping estrogen in control, right? So make sure you know what kind of AIs you're taking, and guys, if you're having problems like troubleshooting, just give Dan a call, do the consult or do the text message coaching and get that done, because that is very important. You can't kill the estrogen in your body, right? You need some estrogen, because if you kill the estrogen in your body, you're gonna look flat, you're not gonna look big, and you're actually gonna look softer. So you need a bit of estrogen in your body,
Yeah.
but you
Normal
need to
range.
control it. Yeah, but you need to control
as
it
if you were
well.
natural.
Yeah. So if you I don't know if you know this guy. He's a British guy. His name is Jordan Peters. Big guy.
I know him. Yeah.
Huge guy. So he's got this trained by JP, his kind of app / website, and he actually talks pretty openly about gear. Dosage wise, I can't really say for sure, but at least he's talking about it, right? So he says that he likes to keep his estrogen, like if he takes test, he likes to run as high of a test dosage as he can without taking any AIs at all, right? And he'll only use them like really when it's needed. So that's why blood work is so important. So you actually know where your levels are. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you should use them to avoid side effects. Whatever your whatever amount of estrogen gives you side effects, you need to use however much AI that you need to use to get rid of those. But moving on to the next question. This one is from Linus. Hey Dan, big fan of the podcast. Glad to see someone spreading the truth in the business. Looking to start my first cycle soon and have bought some Testosterone ampoules. Drawing needles are 21 gauge and 25 gauge needles to inject with. While reading about injection techniques, I noticed people recommending some special filtered syringes while using ampoules. Is this a necessity or is it fine to use regular needles? Would suck to inject some glass and die. LOL. Keep up the great work. You know, I've used a lot of ampoules. I prefer ampoules to vials, and I've never had a problem. I've never used one of those filtered. I know what you're talking about. Those needles that filter it, or syringe that filters it on the way up. But I can tell you right now that I've never met a bodybuilder who uses a filtered syringe for drawing from ampoules, and I've never done it myself. And I've never known anyone who's had a problem.
Here's a big tip for Linus, okay? Get a nail file, right? You know those like metal nail files with the plastic bit that you can hold on to? Just on the line of the vial, usually where it breaks, just give it a few like swipes as if you're sawing it all around. And then get the every time you get a needle, it's a single use needle in a packet, right? Once you take the syringe, it's a single use syringe in like a sealed plastic packet. Take the syringe out of that packet, and then now you've got like an empty packet. Wrap the packet around the vial, around the amp, and then break it that way. So if anything does happen, you're not gonna, it's gonna come off nicely. Number one. Number two, if the glass does break, you don't cut your thumb or you don't cut your fingers doing it. Most ampoules are made to break easily, anyways. But there are some ampoules that don't break easily, and I have had this thing before. Cooper Pharma, right? I was using Cooper Pharma during my last cycle. Those ampoules are a bitch to break, and so many times has the glass kind of just shattered in and like fallen into the amp.
Generally, pharmaceutical grade ampoules are easier to break than UGL ampoules. And what Justin said about giving it a little swipe, if you use you could use a knife or you can use a little file, like he was saying. Anything like that to kind of score the neck of the ampoule will help it open a lot easier. Once you get the technique down, opening ampoules is nothing. It is very, very smooth process and not a pain in the ass to pop ampoules open after you've figured out the technique to do it.
And it must be very satisfying for you, right, Dan? Popping all those reamable and amps, making you feel like a high roller.
I like to pop reamable and amps or any Bayer amps in general. Definitely pop very easily there. A good quality for that. Okay, the next question is from Trevor. He asks, I have a few questions for the podcast. First one, how do you deal with the negative stigma associated with bodybuilding, anabolics, and performance-enhancing drugs? I understand it comes with the territory when you use, but friends and family don't understand in the slightest. In addition, I started 250 milligrams testosterone 8 weeks ago and put on size and fullness quickly. I'm asked nearly daily at the gym what I'm doing. I don't openly say it's the gear, but more so intense training and nutrition. I don't feel like I'm lying to them, but more so protecting myself since I live in a small town and everyone will talk if they found out. They don't understand bodybuilding at all, and I have aspirations to reach a high level competitively. The majority are against them and would say it's cheating, etc. Just wanted your thoughts and opinion on this all. Keep up the great work on the podcast. Well, the first thing I have to say is that, you know how you said you don't feel like you're lying to them. You're just protecting yourself. You're right. You don't have any obligation to tell them what you're doing because what you're doing doesn't affect what they're doing. But the fact that you're asking this question shows that it's bothering you. You're an honest person and you don't like misleading people. So you're doing something and people are noticing that you're having changes to your body. They're interested in what you're doing. And you seem to be fine with the decision that you made, but you don't want people to think negatively of you. And then you also feel uneasy about telling people that it's your diet and training. You wish that they could understand.
Mm-hmm. So you know exactly why, Dan, why I have to remain anonymous on this podcast, right? It's a very similar story. I mean, to answer Trevor's question, how do you deal with the negative stigma associated with bodybuilding and anabolics? You choose your friendship circle. You choose the people who you choose who's in your life, right? If everyone else has something to say about it, okay, fine. They do have something to say about it. All right, that everyone's entitled to their own opinion. As you get older, your friendship circle gets smaller. Like look at Dan and I. Like we talk openly about this stuff because Dan understands and I understand, and so do some of the other people, that do this. They understand, right? But
it's usually not a process too where you as soon as you start, like this guy, your first cycle, you're comfortable telling people what you're doing. It's usually something that you get more comfortable with as time goes on.
Yeah, exactly. And he says that he wants to reach a high level competitively. Come on. You look at a bodybuilder, even at an amateur level, they're juiced to the gills, bro. Right?
Yeah.
They're juiced to the gills. You think that looks natural? Come on. You think
Well,
that
people
there's
know
such a thing
too.
as natural? Yeah, they
when you're not even big yet, but like people started asking you what you're doing and stuff. If they're talking about that, then like behind your back and everything, they're already saying like, oh, he's on roids. How are the steroids? He's a juicer.
Yeah.
These it's that's why I think it's better because if you're a fake natty or something like that, or just if you're not open about what you're doing and you're getting asked questions all the time about it and stuff, it really just becomes this weight on your life where you're like, fuck, I've got everybody knows that I'm doing this thing with the hormones, but I'm trying to like live this lie or something. And, it just feels very relieving to be able to say, I use a hormone. I use a male hormone.
Yeah. Or you can say I use Muscle Tech, Cell Tech, and Nitrotech. You can say that as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But but no, in all seriousness, you are right. It really is a weight. But like I said, if everyone's situation is different. So like I can relate to this because this is something that I'm going through. But I understand that in order to do what I love doing, which is bodybuilding, this is part of it. And this is a part that's never going to go away. Some people are just too stubborn. They won't change their minds. So why do I have to bother trying to change their minds, trying to convince them that, oh, it's okay. No, 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 no. Dude, just do you, right? If you wanna go pro, you want to get on stage, you want to be competitive, then do what it takes, right? But you got to make sure that what you're doing is not causing harm to someone else, right? you understand that this is your responsibility, that you're an adult to choose what to choose what you put in your body. Okay, and you understand that there are consequences. All right, live with it. As long as you're injecting your test, but that's fine. But then you're not hurting anyone else. I don't see a problem with that at all.
Yeah. And if other people don't want to like you because of what you're doing, they think you're an idiot, or they think you're Satan, or they don't like you because you do that. You take male hormones. Well, you know what? You probably don't like them either. They're probably, who cares about that person? Not everybody's going to like you, and you don't like everyone else too. So if you go
Yeah,
through your life trying to make everyone like you, you know what?
yeah,
That's a very sheep mindset.
yeah,
You don't like everyone. How the hell could you expect everyone to like you?
yeah,
All right, next
and
question.
yeah.
The next question is from Big Russ. Can women take Proviron safely and get the same increased sex drive effect, or are there any other drugs like aromatase inhibitors or low-dose Anavar or something that women can take for a similar outcome? After 2 kids, my wife's sex drive is tanked, and I'm juiced up and horny all the time. This has obviously caused tension. She wants to find a safe way to boost her sex drive without getting male hormone side effects. Thanks, bro. Well, definitely there can be tension from unequal sex drives in a relationship, but that's also very normal to have unequal sex drives because a man's sex drive biologically, he's always ready to have sex, where a woman biologically only about 2 weeks out of a month, she's getting that same stimulus, hormonal stimulus. What do you think, Justin, about
Two
Proviron?
words. Oh, well, 2 words. Female Viagra. Have you heard of this thing?
No,
Filibusterin? Filibusterin?
it actually works.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like male Viagra, but it works in a different way because male Viagra is Cytofel, right?
Mm-hmm.
However you pronounce it.
Sildenafil, yeah.
Sildenafil, yeah, citrate, right? So this one is based kind of off that, and it pretty much, you know, makes a woman more interested, or more turned on, shall we say. So
Really?
that
Because
will,
Viagra doesn't make a man more turned on. It just makes blood go to your dick.
yeah,
So,
that's why it works. It's got a different mechanism, you see.
okay.
It's like female Viagra. Another thing that, from personal experience, I knew this one guy. He used to get, those the testosterone caps, the gel caps.
Hmm.
He used to like melt them into an oil, and he used to cook with it, and he used to put it in the food to give to his wife.
Wow.
Yeah, and then he told me that he would say that his wife would get like really really horny.
I'm sure she would. Did she get any side effects from having eating testosterone?
That's the testo. I mean, that's it's such a low dosage from the gel caps. You just put 1 or 2 in and put it in food. I'm sure you won't get any side effects from that. I mean, if we take that testo gel thing, we'll probably have to take the whole damn bottle, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think there's gonna be any side effects from that. But Proviron, nah, I wouldn't give Proviron to a woman. No.
Okay. Yeah. So with the sex drive, you were talking about the woman having a testosterone like an androgel capsule. Uh,
Yeah.
And I mean, male hormones increase your sex drive. So the same thing that he was saying about like low dose Anavar or something, like absolutely that will increase a woman's sex drive. Again, you're talking about male hormones. If she's got, something other else, like you said, AIs or aromatase inhibitors, Russ, that's not going to help her sex drive, decreasing her estrogen levels. That's not going to help her sex drive. But if she takes male hormones like Anavar, or testosterone androgel tablets or capsules like that, that would increase her sex drive. I think that the biggest thing that increases sex drive in women is when they are low stress, so they are not having a huge amount of stress in their life. When they have a good exercise and diet, they're generally fit, and they're not having a contentious relationship with you. Those are really the biggest factors for female sex drive, not chemicals and all this stuff. It's
What about
different.
a very low dose of growth hormone?
Growth hormone shouldn't have any kind of sex drive effect. It is not a sex hormone. It's a protein. It's an amino acid.
Because why I'm saying that is because growth hormone, it has on women, if it's a very, very low dosage, it does have like anti-aging benefits and stuff like that, right? And
Yeah, it has regenerative effects and tissue thickening, like for skin and everything like that.
so I don't know if that would help, but with this guy's thing about Anavar, please make sure your Anavar is real. If you're gonna give Anavar to your wife, please make sure it's Anavar and not Winstrol, because if it's UGL stuff, a lot of the times Anavar is a lot more expensive compared to Winstrol, so they're just gonna give you probably Winstrol, and instead of giving you 10 mgs of Winstrol, they'll in a 10 mg Anavar tab, they'll give you 5. Yeah. So please make sure it's real.
All right. Next question is from Garrett. He just had some questions. So I used to take anxiety medication and SSRI. So an SSRI is something like Prozac or Zoloft or Lexapro for depression. And they use it for anxiety too. And I wanted to start running gear, so I quit taking those. And I feel amazing on testosterone. I run 400 milligrams a week. I've been off for over a year and been running off his SSRIs for over a year and been running cycles ever since, but my anxiety is pretty much gone. I'm just trying to figure out, is there any research having high test levels gets rid of anxiety? Thanks. Well, yeah, so if you started with low test levels, which can also be a symptom of anxiety and depression, then you will have mood swings and you will feel out of control of your emotional state, more anxiety, more social anxiety, stuff like that. And that's something that steroid users experience when they go off cycle or when they're in PCT. That's why bodybuilders don't like that, don't like going on PCT, don't like going off cycles, because you'll experience those things. When you have low testosterone, you experience the effects of low testosterone. You'll see your behavior mirroring guys who are around 50 years old who you've noticed have low testosterone. And you'll also feel way less in control of your mood, more like a bitch, more like a woman, more like, not that women are bitches, but you will feel more like a woman who is not as rock solid in her emotional foundation as a man generally is.
Yeah, I completely agree. 400 mg of test, it's probably like test sip going by the dosage, right? 400 mg of test is a really great dosage. I really don't see too much, that's bad, as long as your diet is in check and you're making sure your blood pressure is fine, whatever estrogen is in control. But definitely, like what you said, Dan, low test, you don't feel like a man at all. And that's why, like we were talking about it the other day, why do you think I don't want to go off test? I'll go off all the other stuff, but I'll stay on the test, right? Minimum for me. I don't even want to do a TRT replace. I don't even want to do a TRT dosage. I'd stay at like 200, 250 a week. And I feel great on that. I feel even
that's
better
reasonable.
on
That's the
750.
higher end of TRT. I know a lot of guys that get prescribed TRT at 200, 250 a week, and those are the guys that feel good. Then you have these guys who get prescribed at 125 a week or something like that, and those are the guys that are either liars on YouTube who look like bodybuilders and say, I'm on 125, this is the real dose, or they're the guys who are on TRT but they still feel like a bitch or like shit and not getting good PCT benefits.
Yeah,
Or
definitely.
TRT benefits.
Yeah, if you think 400 is good, try and add in another CC and see how you feel. That's what I would say. Yeah, that shit is linear.
Yeah. Okay, next question. This one is from Hidden Patriot.
Dear Dan, have a couple questions for the podcast, but first want to say I bought your ebook and it's pure gold. Highly recommend anybody new or experienced get it and soak up the knowledge and experience Ultimate Guide to ROIDS brings to the table. My question is about steroids and diabetes. There seems to be quite a lot of men who have a history of steroid use that now have diabetes. Do you think their diabetes is more of a result of taking steroids or the diet side of bodybuilding, like overeating? If someone is pre-diabetic, what steroids can you recommend they use or stay away from and why? If this question with the presumption that the person with diabetes or pre-diabetic has it under control, okay, I don't understand the last part. That was confusing, but the general gist of his question is, do steroids have an effect on diabetes? And yes, they do, and that it's actually the exact opposite of what you're asking. Taking any type of steroid, but especially testosterone, sensitizes your body to insulin and makes it so that your blood sugar goes down because it increases your muscle cell insulin sensitivity, making it so that your body needs less insulin in order to get your blood sugar down, and it more like reduces your blood sugar levels. When you go on testosterone, you'll notice that you are more hypoglycemic or have low blood sugar more often than you did before. So guys, actually one treatment for diabetes, type 2 diabetes, is actually getting on testosterone replacement therapy. It's not a lucrative medical thing. You know, the doctors, when you got type 2 diabetes, they want to prescribe you all this shit so that you can they can make a lot of money prescribing you medications, no unpatentable natural hormones like testosterone replacement therapy. And so they're going to demonize this shit, and they're going to try to get you on all this patentable stuff and keep you away from fixing your low testosterone that's going to fix your diabetes.
So, I mean, you said history of bodybuilding, right? So what about the other stuff they're taking, the growth hormone, the insulin, and all that stuff?
That is going to give you diabetes, yeah.
Yeah, so you just think about it like that. I mean, look, we're not saying don't take this stuff because, like, we both do. Just be a bit more responsible. It's like it's a very interesting thing. Like, some people are like, oh, I took D-ball and like I blew up. I look like the Michelin Man, and I got really watery and fat. Bro, it's not the D-ball that made you fat. It's the fucking McDonald's and KFC. Right? Come on, let's be real here, right? Like, people are like, oh, bro, I'm bulking, I'm dirty bulking. Yeah, I've done it before. It's not the steroids that necessarily make you look like that, I know guys who did contest prep on Deca. You know what I mean? So it's not that stuff that makes you fat. So it's kind of like it's the diet choices that you make, right? Just because you're taking all this sort of stuff, it doesn't give you an excuse to eat like a pig. Yeah, some junk food is fine sometimes, but just control it, man. You're a bodybuilder, you're an athlete, Even sumo wrestlers, they don't eat junk. Sumo wrestlers eat a lot of clean food. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
You're an athlete. So
it can be a temptation. It can be a temptation, can't it, to use steroids to be able to eat a lot of junk food? But if you do that, you will not meet your goals.
Yeah, I mean, like, you remember like GH15. You remember the GH15, right, on the forums?
Yeah.
Where he's like, oh, you just get your girl to get you the best pint of ice cream, and you have to eat ice cream every night because on Trenbolone and GH at these dosages you won't get fat. But you eat a whole pint of ice cream a night.
A little bit of ice cream can definitely go a long ways. But the rest of the day you got to be eating clean.
Yeah, but not a whole pint of ice cream, man, every night. Nah, man. I a little bit definitely, but I wouldn't overdo it, to be honest with you. But that's probably because I'm coming from a point where I'm an endomorph, right? I know that some ectomorphs, they can get away with that, but me, sorry, bro, I can't. I don't know about you, Dan, but I'm talking.
No ice cream for you, huh?
A little bit, yeah, but not a whole pint of Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah. I think the Ben and Jerry's kind. That's a more fat gain type. Be better off with just maybe a vanilla ice cream, adding it to your protein shake, or something real basic like that. Supplementing
Yeah.
your regular whole food diet.
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, yeah, definitely. Like, remember
so
you had, sorry, Dan, remember you had Kevin on the podcast?
yeah,
Kevin Dalzufo,
yeah.
right? And you were like, you need a little bit of junk because it's good for you mentally, right? So that
He
you
eats a
know
lot of
that,
junk.
oh yeah, I mean, he eats a lot of junk. Yeah, that's fine, but like it helps. There is a use for it. A little bit of a break from your diet to keep you mentally going, because bodybuilding is a cumulative thing. It's not I'm gonna do it for 20 weeks and then I'm gonna be a slob for the rest. No, you stay consistent, right? So you get these
Hmm.
small breaks. That's gonna help you keep pushing through. Cumulative.
Yep. So Hidden Patriot, don't use the steroids if you're worried about getting diabetes or you're pre-diabetic. Don't use the steroids for um, being like as an excuse for just really trying to have a party type of diet. But the testosterone is not going to give you diabetes. In fact, it's going to make it so that diabetes or its symptoms are less prevalent. But the two bodybuilding substances that will have a negative effect on your blood sugar are growth hormone use and insulin use. So you should stay away from those.
Hmm.
All right, the last question of the day is from Adam, who asks, "Hey man, have you heard or have any experience with a new steroid called Alphalone 100? Has a heavy price tag of 140 UK for a bottle. Description mentions it's reserved for high-end Olympic athletes and the ingredients are secret. Just curious." Okay, so after he asked me this, I went and looked it up and saw, looked at what it was. And basically, it was an underground lab who was, they had a bottle that they labeled Alphalone. And they said, we're not going to say what steroids are inside this bottle or what's inside this bottle, but we are going to tell you that it's very strong. And it's like a combination of a bunch of the strongest experimental steroids. And it's usually reserved for only high-end, top-level athletes, but we're giving you access to it. And so my first, that's a great marketing, I guess. It's, but you know what? For one thing, why would you put something that you had no idea what it was in you? That's number one thing. And then the second thing is, what the hell is that? You don't need that. What the hell? You're just a normal guy.
Don't reinvent the wheel. That's all I'm gonna say. You know, there's no point reinventing the wheel, honestly. Like, and why would, like you said, why would you put something that you don't know what it is in your body? I could be selling you like, I don't know, test probe, right? And I'm gonna say it's this, and you're gonna pay 140 pounds for a bottle of test probe, when in the UK you can probably get a bottle of test probe for like what, 40 pounds, 50 pounds, depending where you get it from. Come on, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's a ripoff. And even like you've heard of Trestolone, right?
Tressalon, yeah, that's the same. Ment.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like I wouldn't even. Nah, I wouldn't even use men, to be honest with you. I know there are a few guys that talk very highly about it, but there's not enough research that's been done, and people haven't used it for as long. So I don't. It's just like all these new SARMs and stuff like that. All these modern kinds of things. I personally believe that you just stick to the tried and tested, the gold standard that everyone's been using for these years, and you can't really go wrong,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So
Yeah.
with the kind of psychology they're trying to appeal to you with that is it's the same thing about the taking the massive dosages of clenbuterol or something. They're trying to sell you a pill or a potion that's going to overcome your or make you believe, oh well, if I just have this, then I'll be able to overcome my inability to stick to the basics or to go learn what I need, the information I need to be able to psychologically get to a point where I can stick to the basics and the fundamentals. Because you're trying to say,
oh, okay, it's this special one that the athletes have, the high-end athletes have, and now if I take this magic potion, now I'm going to be able to achieve my goals that I can't achieve with the normal tools that have always been available to everyone. So you don't need that. It's a marketing ploy. Stick to the fundamentals.
Athletes can't take a lot of steroids, like skill athletes and skill positions and stuff like that. Like Dan, you try sprinting on Winstrol, or you try having D-ball or whatever, or even like test, you're gonna cramp up. It's really hard to do that. So athletes can't actually take a lot of steroids, to be honest with you. They're athletes, not bodybuilders. It's a different thing. In bodybuilding,
Finishing touches.
In bodybuilding, where what we do in the gym is very different from the competition, because in the competition you're posing on stage, and you're not really posing in the gym. You're tearing down your muscles, and it's more like a sport in the gym, whereas on the stage it's more like a posing, like a beauty pageant type thing. So that's why they can use these like massive dosages. But athletes, like a basketball player, a football player, or American football player, man, you can't be on high dosages. It's going to be impossible for you to perform, to the level you need to perform at.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's the thing.
All right. Well, that was the last question for today. So thanks, Justin, for coming on the podcast. It was a pleasure having you on, bro.
Nah, bro, it's an honor to be on the podcast. Fan as well, So.
If you would like your questions to be answered on the Steroids Podcast, go to steroidspodcast.com and leave a comment with your questions, or email or private message steroidspodcast@gmail.com or steroidspodcast on Instagram. Until next time.